But let's get into the story now. Of course, this was written by multiple. The story has been written by multiple people. I've used Jez Corden's stories pretty much all week because, well, Jez is a fantastic journalist. But I'm going to kind of buck that trend, and I'm going to use Tom Warren's story because that's the one that I read, and I have it in front of me. Tom Warren, if you don't know who he is a senior editor of Notepad. He's been covering all things Microsoft, PC, and tech for over 20 years. And the lead story for today's topic says here's the Steam on Xbox evidence Microsoft didn't want you to see. And it says this: Microsoft posted and removed a new Xbox UI image with Steam games listed. And yeah, folks, I will bring this up in a hot second so you fine folks could see exact. You know what? Let me do that real quick because again, context is everything. Let me just do a quick screen share, ladies and gentlemen, and we will get you that so you can check it out because again, it went up and it went down like super quick. Now you can suggest that this is an accident. It's a mistake. I hope someone did not lose their job over this. I'm going to blow this up pretty ridiculous. Now, again, it's a little blurry. And I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. But let me just add this to the screen. Gentlemen, let me just hide us for a second. Okay. Let me just get that out of the way. Get this, and you guys and gals can see exactly what I'm talking about. So, opening 1 billion doors with Xbox. And ultimately, what they're showing you on the screen is you will be able to play Xbox games on your traditional consoles, which are on the left-hand corner, which you see. On your right hand, you see your tablets, a phone, what looks to be like potentially a bigger tablet or maybe it's a laptop. That's what it looks like from here. In the background, you have a TV. Now, I'm going to see if I can blow this up, and I apologize if you can. I can only do so much. Okay, so I'm going to go right back to the screen here. And if you look right here where the Elder Scrolls circle is, right above that, it says Steam. And this picture was immediately removed and taken down. And well, for good reason. So I'm going to just get this out of the way, folks, and put us back on the screen. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, our beautiful faces. Silent Cipher, look, I'm going to read a little bit from the story verbatim, because obviously for context, it's incredibly important. But I do want to just, we're going to get into this because I think what happened, yes, it might be a mistake. Yes, it might be a controlled leak. But this is big news. Now, GDC ends today. We are currently all awaiting, and I'm one of them. I've reported on this because I talked to a few inside people that give me, tidbits of information. And we did learn, thanks to Jez Cord, who wrote 2 stories last week about this collaboration between Asus or Asus. I like the Asus better. And Xbox in this team up handheld. Now, in that story, Jez Corden reported that it unmistakably looks like an Xbox. What I have heard and what rumors are out there, I heard that again, this is just what I've heard, and it's already out there. I'm not breaking any NDAs because I haven't seen the thing. I don't have pictures of it. I'm just going based on what I've heard. It's basically the grips and the controller for an Xbox Series X controller with a big screen in the middle. Is that what it is? I don't know because they haven't shown it off yet. There's been rumors floating since last week that at some point during GDC, we would see it. Now, there's been some signs and some thoughts and some theories to it pointing to be on Friday. And why that gets a little muddied is because today is the last day of GDC. The wizard with the best beard in the business, Jason Ronald, tweeted yesterday that his time at GDC is done. Now, I don't necessarily know. I mean, he is, of course, been promoted. He is heading off what's happening in the future for Xbox. I don't know if he would be the one. I mean, it makes sense because I'm not, he would be a part of the design of this thing because it is being designed ultimately by, Asus, but they're working together, so he would be have involvement. I don't know if later on this afternoon we actually get this thing unveiled, and it would be a collaboration between Xbox and Asus. So you would probably get Phil Spencer along with the head of that company to come up and say, "Hey, ladies and gentlemen, on the final day of GDC, here is the whatever they're going to call it." And I'm hoping that happens. So, Fuzzy, you and I have a lot to talk about on Monday, but I'm also sad that it didn't happen already because, we almost didn't have a lot to talk about. That is until this happened yesterday. Um, and let's get into it, Silent Cipher. So it goes on to say, while the image appears to be a mock-up, the with owned games listed twice as well, because again, it's a mock-up, folks. So these things happen. It goes on to say, I don't think the Steam label here is necessarily a mistake. Sources familiar with Xbox's or Microsoft's plans tell me that the company is currently working on the Xbox app update that will show every game you have installed on your PC. That includes games from Steam and the Epic Game Store. And I understand that Microsoft will label these games accordingly. Now, Tom goes on to say, I told Microsoft I'm told Microsoft is still in the early stages of this Xbox app update, so the company might never ship the feature to the list that we saw, but this is what he's been told that they're working on. He goes on to say Xbox chief Phil Spencer also had previously hinted that PC stores like Epic Game Store and itch.io could one day arrive on Xbox consoles. Now, look, Silent Cipher, I don't think this is a mistake. That is a graphic. And it did clearly said Steam. And again, apologies that I can't blow it up anymore. If you do, you just can't even see what it says. It's not legible. You'd have to see it. I'll add all of these pictures and all of the links in the show notes. So if you decide you want to go check it out, you can simply just click there when the show goes on video on demand. But this is a big deal. This is a monster-sized deal because what this ultimately does, and again, we can have a little fun here. If this future for Xbox gaming includes adding your library to what is right now the Xbox PC app and will eventually be transitioned over to what the new Xbox UI is going to be in 2027, if it does release then and it doesn't come out next year by some miracle, you will no longer need a PlayStation 5 or a Pro or even, ladies and gentlemen, a PlayStation 6, because I believe that the future for PlayStation may not be God of War on Xbox. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I don't think it will. But I do believe they're going to get to a place where day and date for PC and PS whatever is going to be a thing. If this mythical box is anything like we've all discussed, and this, accidental peek into the future of being able to see your Steam games and your Epic Games library, as well as all of your Xbox games in one place, you could logistically go to Steam, buy a PlayStation 6 game, and play it on your hardware without ever having to buy a controller or a console. And I think that is the future that Xbox is talking about. Now, maybe you're never going to get the new Mario on there. Sure, it's Nintendo. They're going to always Nintendo. But I think that this is the future of gaming. And no, again, folks, I'm not trying to be like a D about it, but how many times have you heard, oh, I'll just wait for it to go to Steam and I'll buy an Xbox game there from PlayStation, from Blue Team? More times than I can count. If I had a nickel for every time they said that, I'd be rich and buying my new home. But this is the reality. This is the reality of where gaming is going. And you're going to be able to pick a box that works for you, whether it be you're comfortable with the controller, your friends list, your achievements, your trophies, whatever it is that makes you a fan of that box. You're going to be able to buy it, and ultimately, you're going to be able to play your games everywhere. Now, I've said this before. I'm not walking back on this. Sony is going to release a incredible console called the PlayStation 6, but it's going to be basically a super powerful PlayStation 5. That is what your future is for PlayStation. It's going to be closed box. It is going to allow, and I really think day and date is around the corner for it. So you'll get games on PC and you'll get games as well on your PlayStation 5, your Pro, your 6, whatever. But Xbox is making strides to be different. Why? And it's why a lot of people are going to buy the next Xbox. Let's get into this story because, again, I don't know if someone lost their job yesterday, but I don't think this was a mistake. I think this was an accidentally on purpose mistake. Let's get your thoughts, Silent.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot of rumblings about some of these collaborations and cross compatibility over I don't know, the last year or two, it feels like. And so does it surprise me if that's the case? No. We know that there had been quite a bit of conversation with Gabe Newell over the last couple of years, so they probably have been cooking something up. I would say, the old saying of where there's smoke, there's fire. I would say this would be one of those scenarios. Like, yes, this is a sample thing to kind of demo it, but if that's on there, I don't think it's nothing. I think that there is something coming from this, and that gets me excited personally because I'm not a big fan of sitting here at my computer desk playing games anymore. Like, unless I'm playing Command and Conquer or something, that's about all I like to play at my computer desk. Anything else, I'd rather be able to play wherever. It's like you said, I'd rather be sitting on my comfy couch. I'd rather be chilling in bed. Like I wake up at 2 a.m. It's like, okay, better pull out the handheld and I can sit here and play some games while I'm there. So that gets me excited. Just the idea that these ecosystems are starting to kind of bleed into each other because it as a consumer, it benefits me a lot. If I can access my libraries across all of it, just like I already do on my ROG Ally to an extent, that's a win. that's It's nice to be able to have those things with me wherever I go, whenever I want to play those games. I mean, it's probably the reason why I have an ungodly amount of time in Balatro. It's because like I can pop that thing open and either play on my Xbox version or on my phone anytime I want to on the fly. Something like that is super convenient to me. And so if I have my handheld out there and I can jump into my Xbox games, my Steam games, whatever, that's a win. So I'm excited to see this. I am curious about the timing. And you do bring up a good point, right? Is like with Jason Ronald having already left for the week, it feels a little weird because it feels like he should be there for this announcement. Uh, it seems like a given since he's been the hardware guy all this time. But maybe there was something coordinated. Maybe he had something else he had to get back for. Like maybe he had to get back home for family stuff or whatever. Who knows? We might still see something today, and I feel like we should because I feel like I've heard a few people mentioning over and over that maybe by Friday we'd see something. But who knows? I mean, sometimes this stuff gets moved around on the fly. Sometimes it happens last second, depending on if something happens, if something falls through, whatever. Uh, but I am very curious to see if this is legit, and I think more likely than not, I think it is. Which I'm excited for. Again, selfish consumer here. I'm excited about that myself. Um, and it does expand into what you were talking about is the idea that you could potentially play, your PlayStation games and stuff like that on an Xbox handheld. I mean, it's not unrealistic unless for some reason somehow Sony locks like a certain launcher for their games, so you can't play those games on that, on that app or something. Uh, you should be able to, because the ROG Ally right now you can do it. Like you could be playing God of War and then you could bounce over and be playing Halo within just a moment or two, just
Yes.
from leaving the launchers. So, in theory, yeah, like this allows you to bleed those ecosystems even more and have all of those accesses in just one handheld, like we've been playing around with on these handhelds that have come out over the last year or so. Um, so yeah, I mean I'm still interested to see what Sony does with hardware for the PS6 if that does happen, which why wouldn't it? But it still is kind of a wrinkle to me because they brought out the PS5 Pro. And I had figured, can the idea of doing a mid gen release bring out your PS6, stronger hardware, but you just brought out the PS5 Pro. And so
There you
I
go.
wonder, like, how far does that push them down the road before they release this? Because if you announce that PS6 is coming out here in like the next 6 months to a year, that's kind of a slap in the face for the people who invested in the PS5 Pro. Um, I did, personally, for me, had I just bought one of those and then you announce that, I'd be a little pissed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like that would rub me the wrong way a little bit. And I know that technology always changes constantly. I've got my Galaxy S24 phone, and as soon as I got it, they already had 2 or 3 new mainline Samsung phones that were, in the works. So it's always going to happen with tech. This is just what happens. But that's a high dollar value purchase. Whereas with a phone, you're usually only paying like monthly on your phone versus the whole cost of the system, like right up front. So I'll be curious what they do with this. And I'll be curious, especially given the PS5 Pro had a lot of short sighted issues in regards to the optimization, because the whole idea was that it was going to do everything better, but we've already seen plenty of test benchmarks and tests that showed that the games sometimes actually perform worse than the regular PS5.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that leaves Sony right now with hardware, and especially given the conversations we've talked about with their roadmap, I don't I don't know what Sony's roadmap looks like right now as far as hardware goes, because it's a weird time for them. I'm sure it'll work out. I don't know what hardware looks like for them at this point, and I think that this would definitely eat their lunch a little bit because day and date on PC seems inevitable, and I would say it's sooner more than later at this point.
I think that
Probably
happens
within
this
the
year,
next.
brother.
Yeah,
I've been saying this for weeks, months even. I think Ghost of Yotai is literally the first day and date. And you know why? It's going to sell really well on Steam.
yeah,
It is going to make them a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying that PlayStation gamers aren't going to buy it because
no,
Ghost of Tsushima sold pretty freaking good. So I would imagine people are going to line up to buy this as well. But
yeah. You'll still get people buying it on all this or on the PlayStation system, but if they have it on Steam as well, it only benefits Sony because they're going to dip into a much bigger market. And
yeah,
that just makes sense. It's why Microsoft did it. It's why Sony's doing it or has been working towards it.
yeah. No, I mean it makes perfect sense. Again, Sony's not dying. They're gonna be very familiar. They're going to release a PlayStation 6 that is going to be extremely powerful. They're make no mistake. It is going to now the PSSR. I don't know if they move forward with that. Supposedly they're changing things because it's not delivering as good as they thought it was. So that's why they're moving on to a different system. I know that there was a game that was just released, and I can't remember what it was that it's actually doing. I think it's Assassin's Creed that's doing that using the PlayStation 5 Pro the way it's supposed to be used. So
Mm.
if you did buy a PS5 Pro, awesome. If you did buy Assassin's Creed, you are probably playing the better version. Now, compared to PC, I don't know nothing about that, but for the console, supposedly according to several places like Eurogamer, it is doing really good and things that you paid for it to do. Look, I again, there are a lot of variables here, folks, right? This isn't console war rhetoric. I think that everything Silent Cypher had to say was honest, earnest, and the truth. All the same thing. I think that, you have a third place publisher like Xbox doing some things. Now, would they have walked this different beat of the drum if they were first place? Probably not. Losing makes you change your way of doing things. And you know what they say about insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, thinking you're going to get a different result. Well, this is why Phil Spencer said in that interview, in multiple interviews, he obviously talked. He sat down with Gamertag Radio with Denny Pena and Paris Lilly. He also sat down with, of course, Destin Legary. And some of the things we got out of him is, why should I buy an Xbox? Why should I buy the next Xbox? Is because they're going to make something that's different, something that they've never done before, something for people like me, which is why the OEM situation is very interesting, because again, there's going to be an Xbox that you buy from Microsoft, and it's probably going to be pricey, folks. 700, maybe even $800. This thing they're not eating money anymore. If the thing costs $700, you're paying $700. And you know what? I'm okay with that. But because I have a couple of extra bucks, maybe I don't want that $700 one. Maybe I want the one from, Alienware that's, $1,300. But that one has a 5070 in it. Oh, okay. Now we're talking. I get to build my own Xbox, and I can pay what I want. Now we're talking. And this is why I think, again, I'm not talking about is market leadership changing. Look, PlayStation is a very popular brand. The last time I checked, they were number 7. They were in the top 10 of the freaking world. They're going to continue to be in that position. But things are changing. Gaming is changing. The way games are distributed are changing. The way games are the cost of making games is continuing to skyrocket. And they got to figure this shit out. But, Korkenstein, I want to bring you in because this is a very interesting conversation. The Steam integration that is starting out what it appears to be in the handhelds, right? Which these handhelds are basically PCs that are handhelds. And this new handheld that we're hoping gets announced today is the first OEM device that we're seeing Microsoft. And there's a couple of others. They made mention of it. I would imagine Lenovo is going to get in bed with them. I believe there's going to be, there are at least 15 different handhelds out there. The first one is Asus, and that's going to be the one that they teamed up with. We're going to, again, hopefully see that today. This is not the end of it. And if that graphic of being able to see your Steam games on your Xbox dashboard, I think it's a game changer. Let's get your thoughts, man.
It's definitely a move in the right direction for Xbox and kind of expanding. Like I said, that's been their whole push this last couple of years, is been expanding their ecosystem, getting to more gamers where they're at. And Steam definitely has a big base. It's the biggest base on PC, so it naturally makes sense that you would try to incorporate or get yourself into that ecosystem as much as possible to make your games accessible to those consumers, because in the end, that's just more revenue, more profit for your company. It's something that is a very, very smart move from Xbox. Whether it was a controlled leak, or an accident, I don't know. It could be both. It could be either or. Maybe an asset creation. They just titled it wrong, and junior intern making the article or whatever, or the presentation, just nabbed the wrong asset and attached it, and nobody did any quality control.
Though, You know what I'm saying? And it didn't happen on day 1 of GDC. It had technically happened on day 4 of GDC. So I man, I don't know. Again, I think this whole conundrum is a flip of a coin. I think we could both be right and wrong at the same time,
I mean,
Corcus.
who knows? I mean, they could be setting it up. Yeah, they could be setting it up to get everybody talking about Xbox and Steam, and then bam, tomorrow they hit it, or today they hit us with the handheld with Xbox and Steam. You know, it's continued news. It's the people that keeps getting that story talking and clicks and everything like that, to where, you know, they started the hype yesterday and then now it's here and it's going to go throughout the weekend. You know, it could, like I said, it could be something definitely controlled. Overall, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. I have a pretty decent sized library on Steam. You know, it's something, especially if there's a handheld coming. I don't know though, because I did talk to I was watching Kay Asante's podcast with Everborn Saga, and you know, we've seen different things, and I kind of pointed out too, I think it's a mistake on Microsoft's part, on Xbox's part, to not have it be an everywhere, all at, you know, everywhere, everything in one machine kind of thing, because it's supposed to be just PC kind of. I guess you can't play your Xbox games natively. At least that's the rumor.
Right.
And I said that was a pretty big miss, I think, on Xbox's part for their first handheld. Granted, Xbox might be, you know, having their own, you know, especially with the Steam integration, where they're like, yeah, now this is what we have to offer as Xbox. But you know, their first foray into the handheld market, I kind of expected it to be an everything everywhere machine. Could be wrong. You know, again, it's just all based off of rumors and what we've heard. But I really do kind of want that. I mean, if that was the case, I would buy it day one. But it could be Everborn ported out too, that it could be licensing issues, could be different things that might stop it from doing that. With Steam, and then like you said, the next Xbox coming up. Oh man, that would be awesome. You know, kind of build your own Xbox. That was something that was rumored years ago. Years and years ago, that they were going to do customizable Xboxes, you know, plug and play. You take a little unit out and you can put, you know, a 5070 in or something. Like, it would be modular, I guess, in that sense. That was supposed to be, that was a long time rumor ago. I think that was supposed to be the Xbox 360 going into Xbox One, I think was the rumors back then. I mean, it makes sense now. Technology's better. Technology's a lot smaller. Things, you know, the things that you can do, the ecosystem's a lot healthier for Xbox right now. So that could be also another possibility. It'd be interesting to see. I'm really, really excited for the future of Xbox and Steam integration.
Yeah, again, it's the way of the future, folks. I think being able to have all of your purchase games as a customer or a consumer in one location is ultimately where I think gaming is going all together. You do that right now on your PC. You're a PC gamer. You go to your PC and your launchers are right there for you. Whether it be Steam, whether it be Good Old Games, whether it be Epic Game Store, or whatever else you use. You simply hit the launcher, you play your games, and you go. And if you're good in, you know, tweaking, and you have your rig all ready to go, everything is done for you, and you go and you play. And that's great. I'm not that kind of guy. I've never been a PC guy. I probably never will be a PC guy. But I will be a guy that says, hey, I bought the original new Xbox. It was $700. I'm enjoying it. Oh, wait a second. Lenovo is making an Xbox? And I see that there's 3 versions. And there's the standard version for anyone that wants to, you know, what I already have. Or, oh, wait a second. There's a $1,500 version. Let me see what this bad boy has. And you go and you're looking at, like, every bell and whistle you could possibly imagine is there. They build it for you. I don't got to do shit. And I think ultimately that's what's going to happen with the device. Now, in regards to Steam integration, Fuzzy, look, I'm going to say this right now. There is one thing, and I did find your member chat. I'll get to that in a second. It didn't pop up originally. Shout out to Korkenstein for adding it. There is some talk within the community. I want to put out this fire before it becomes wildfire. Okay, there's some talk in the community from the PlayStation team that suggests that Steam will be told not to put games on Xbox. Folks, I'm here to tell you something. Steam runs the ship. Sony is a passenger on that ship, and they're not telling Steam shit. They're not going to block games from being played on the next Xbox handheld or the console. A Steam game is a Steam game, regardless of Microsoft making it, PlayStation making it, or the guy 2 blocks down from you that has made a game in his garage. It's on Steam. That game is sold on Steam. That game is played where Steam is available. If Steam is available on this handheld, you will be able to play your PlayStation games that you bought on Steam. On the next box, if Steam is available, you'll be able to play the day-and-day PlayStation 6 games. That's a fact. And I'm not the biggest tech guy here, but of course, we're going to bring Fuzzy, who is. Fuzzy, let's get your thoughts on what I just said. More importantly, let's get your thoughts on the accidentally on purpose, hey, we're here, Steam. Right here. We're here. Don't look at this. We're right here. Because that's what it seemed like to me. It's like, don't look at us, but look at us. I'm confused because I'm going to look. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, it does seem a bit strange for it to be just a let's say a designer's dream and hope type of thing that they accidentally released or snuck in there or something like that. So I think there was some more thought into it. Yes, even though they have owned games in there twice or whatever, as far as one of those little tabs, it's been talked about. The president of Microsoft Gaming has mentioned it numerous times in the past several years. So I would assume it's something. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's definitely something there. Especially considering we've heard in the past, like even as early as the launch of the series consoles, that Gabe was meeting with Xbox over stuff, and we remember how he was saying, "Oh yeah, if I was going to buy a console, I'd buy a Series X, or it's the best console out there," kind of thing. So there's been some friendly talks with Phil and Gabe over the years, and I think, considering what he's even made mention in the ABK trial, that he trusts Microsoft or Xbox with its current leadership without having to have a contract, make it quote unquote official. That goes to show that there is a working partnership, not just to sell Xbox games on Steam, but something a little bit more above and beyond. Like, you can even sideload stuff on like the Steam Deck, for example. So I can imagine that if it's not going to be in the official launch or release, that you'll still be able to do a sideload, since this will be more of a PC handheld, let's say. Now, I can't promise that these things will be the case, but I do believe that a lot of this stuff will be the norm. Now, as far as console stuff, it comes down to third-party licenses. Companies like Take-Two are going to want you to buy the game twice. They love you to double dip. Perfect example is GTA 5. How many of us bought GTA 5 more than twice from the 2 generations ago to now?
I think everyone has honestly purchased that game 7 times. You just don't even know it. Like, honestly, ask anybody. I've bought it, I think, 5 times. If I'm doing just a quick thought. So listen. It's ridiculous how many times we bought that game. But that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that's the only thing that's really stopping it from instantly saying that you can have your console games play on this device natively. Now, considering how many studios and properties and IPs that Microsoft and Xbox own at this point in time, would you be upset if only the Xbox first-party stuff and Activision stuff and Bethesda stuff and anything else they've purchased over this period of time were the only ones, at least at launch, that you could play your console versions of natively? And in that case, most recently, for a lot of their first party stuff, you get the dual entitlement. So you'll have an equal app on there to be able to have it playable. The only thing I know with some of the Bethesda games, and I've experienced this just because I like playing between the console and PC and trying to pick up where I left off, there's only a handful of them that haven't done the cross progression. Like Fallout's one of them where I have a separate save for PC and console. Prey was another one that I have a separate save for PC and console. I think Hellblade 1 is another one where I have a separate save for PC and console. Now, Hellblade 2, it's all one save, so your progress picks up from where you left off kind of thing. So I think this handheld or this new OS will make that, Xbox Play Anywhere even easier and a lot more of a reality for a lot of people. Having access to Steam ensures that you get access to games that even console doesn't get all the time right away. Sure, some of them are early access, but a lot of them are from devs that have polished and are growing or building the game based on feedback directly from the community, which in a lot of cases sometimes works better than the early access on console.
Yep.
Because you have direct feedback into that whole loop. Like No Rest for the Wicked, the same ones that did Ori, that game is only on PC. Now, it's probably going to be within the next 6 months to a year on console, but if there's things that you want as far as feedback for that developer to hear, having access to it from Steam is definitely the way to go. Now, it probably wouldn't make sense to then pick it up on console later, but you get the point. You don't have to worry about certain games missing this platform anymore. That kind of fills that hole as they work with those devs to ensure that it doesn't happen any further. But the key thing is having access to Steam is probably, it may not seem like a big to do in the sense of, it doesn't benefit Xbox directly, but it does make it easier for us as the consumer that may have a collection of epic games that they've, haven't bothered, downloading yet because they just collect all the free ones and add them to their library.
That's what I do. I'm not going to lie.
Or some of the Steam games, like when there's examples of like the summer sale or even the winter sale where it's like you can get decent games that, they might be a generation old, but like for under $5, in some cases under $2 and stuff like that. A lot of times, or even the Humble Bundles for that example, you can build up a collection of those that you'll have access to at least cover, moving forward as far as some games that, like I said, miss console or that you may have missed purchasing on console and now can pick up through Steam in that regard. Some of them that may have been delisted from console, where GOG is another example of where they're doing that whole game preservation deal where some of those delistings are still available on their site because they're guaranteeing that these games will continue to work and you'll be able to continue to purchase them and things along those lines. But the Steam thing is a nice feature for us gamers. The handheld in general, excuse me, the handheld in general is going to be probably that aha moment where I get it. A lot of people aren't necessarily for the PC. There are some of us that have our PC hooked up to our TV. And one thing I always recommend in the background to a lot of us in the community, get that Steam Deck or get that handheld and get one of those docks and then hook it to your TV like it's a Switch.
Yep.
You can either, sync it with your controller or keyboard and mouse for the, the RTS games that you may want to try. But that's probably going to be one of the big steps into getting into that PC and console blurred line space and be able to enjoy it at your TV or on the go or pretty much at a monitor, at a computer desk or whichever one suits your fancy kind of thing. But I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking for something to replace my Steam Deck that's more of an all-in-one. Like I'm still a little hesitant to put Chiaki on my Steam Deck, which allows you to do the remote play for PlayStation, but I already have some of the PlayStation games already purchased through Steam. So if this next, Xbox can do the same or give me access to those Steam games, then I have my all-in-one device that, then I can hand my Steam Deck over to my wife and then pick up the next Xbox ROG Ally, whatever, blend. I guess it would be like an Xbox Ally or something. That'd probably be the better name for it, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Steam on Xbox, I think is going to be that added feature like you didn't know you wanted. And I remember somebody asked earlier about Quick Resume. Do we think Quick Resume will be on the handheld? Me personally, I think it will, as long as they've gotten far enough with Windows 12 in the background. Windows 12 is pretty much right around the corner. They were forcing everybody off of Windows 10 here soon to get to Windows 11, but Windows 12 should be coming soon. And one of the key features from a gaming standpoint that they talked about having in that is quick resume. So PC will finally have what we've had on our series consoles. And then moving forward, everything in the Microsoft ecosystem will have access to that quick resume. So when you're playing on your PC, when you're playing on your series console, or whatever the next Xbox is, or that handheld, you'll have that same ability to bounce between games and pick up where you left off. Although even without quick resume, I think what you may have is still the, pick up where you left off. It just may take an extra second or two to load, because even with the way things are set up now on these handhelds, you can bounce from game to game. It's just that instead of it being loading in 3 seconds, it might take 5 or 6, but we'll see how that goes, especially if it's on the internal SSD as opposed to like a micro SD card that you put in it or something like that. But, looking forward to it either way.